what your name is. What your name is. Okay, let me stop playing. What's up, family? But what is your name? Do you know what your name means? I will tell you this name does not mean God. We're going to explain that here in the short. What's up, family? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good week, good Thursday. Welcome to the Anti-Negativity Network. Glad to have you. Hope you're doing well. I'm always excited. Always excited. Because it's Thursday, 6:30. It's time to get a little sharper, and that's what we're here to do. And I get to bring my wife in again. So I'm excited about that. So let's get her up in here. Let's get her up in here. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on up in here. Come on there. Ah, there we go. She back at it again. So I'll make sure I back up a little bit this time because last week I think all you saw, I think my head was cut off. So I'm telling you to back away from the camera, and I'm all up in the camera. But hey, all righty, there we go. What's up, family? Hope everybody doing well. So we back here to do it again, and yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. I really am excited because the end of chapter 29 and chapter 30, there's a whole lot, and we're gonna start to talk about it. And I don't know if we're gonna be able to do it justice in 15 to 20 minutes, but we're gonna do the best that we can and just have some conversation about this soap opera. So, babe, you want to say hi to folk?
Hello,
Anything you want
everyone.
to say?
Good to see you.
Yeah. Well, we really can't see them. They can see us, but good to have you. But, but anyway, all right, let's do what we do. All right, on the count of three. Ready? One, two, three. One, two, three. One more time. One, two, three. All right, all right, all right. So here we go. Here we go. So now, let me just tell y'all, Deb and I have been talking about this because this chapter, the end of chapter 29 and the end of chapter 29 flows right into chapter 30. And there's a lot to, as our bishop used to say, there's a lot to unpack in this chapter. And I'm not exactly sure if we're going to be able to unpack it all today. I'm going to be honest with you. We might be able to, we might not. We might come back to it some more next week, and we might be done with it. I don't know. We're not in no rush to get through the Bible. We don't have no set time we got to get through the Bible. We just walking through the Bible so we can get understanding and relate it to everyday life for us, right? That's we just trying to grow. We're trying to learn, and we don't come in here as if we know it all. We not know any. We know nobody's pastor. We now Deb did go to school and get her doctorate in divinity, but she's still learning. And but she knows a lot because she's actually teaching me. So I'm truly thankful for my wife because she helps me. But we come in here just to talk about God's word and hopefully encourage you through His word. And here in chapter, and we like I said, we've been walking through Genesis, and now we're on chapter 30, with the end of 29, chapter 30. And here in 29 and 30, if you saw it last week, we was talking about Leah and Rachel, who are the wives of Jacob. And last week I talked about how that came about. Okay, so now we have a situation where Leah and Rachel, sisters, married to the same guy. Wow. Wow. That right there in itself, right there, says drama. Right? And so we're going to unpack some of this drama that's going on because now there's a sibling rivalry going on because as the scripture talked about previously, Jacob loved Rachel. Like that's who he wanted. He went there, saw Rachel, I guess was like love at first sight. That's who he wanted. But he ended up with Leah and Rachel because of their father Laban, who tricked Jacob into marrying both. because of a custom. The custom was the elder sister had to be married off first before the younger one. So he used that to his advantage to have both of his daughters get married. Now, Jacob now got a 2-for-1 deal that I don't think he originally signed up for. But now he in the middle of this. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and unpack all this drama because there's some baby mama drama going on up in here. So, man, what you got to say? Come on, talk to me.
No, go ahead. You're doing well.
Well,
I'll step
so,
in.
huh?
I'll step in later. Go ahead.
Okay, so the bottom line is here. Leah is able to have kids, but Jacob, he didn't really love Leah because again, he didn't go there to meet Leah. He met Rachel, who he wanted, love at first sight. He worked 7 years so that he could marry Rachel, but because of Laban, their father, Rachel and Leah's father, tricked Jacob, and now he had to marry Leah. Now, Leah is able to have kids. Rachel can't. So now we got drama right there from the very beginning. Leah is not loved. Rachel is. So now Leah begins to have the babies. Now we get into chapter 30. Rachel is jealous of Leah, while Leah is jealous of Rachel. So we got some jealousy going on back and forth between sisters who are married to the same guy. Why y'all look at soap operas? Read the Bible. It's your soap opera right here. Plenty of soap opera drama right here. You don't need to be sitting there wasting your time looking at that stuff on TV. Read this word right here. I got all the drama right here for you. So the issue we have here, which is quite a few of them, they are now having babies, and now if you read in chapter 30, Rachel is now taking it into her own hands because she's like, look, I want some kids myself, but she can't have kids. So now she uses her maid, her concubine. I guess that's the right word. Did I say that wrong, babe?
No, that's right.
Okay. So she gives her concubine, her maid, to Jacob so that she can have kids. So now she's serving as a surrogate mother for Rachel. What does that sound like? What does that remind you of? Sarah and Hagar. Because remember, Sarah did this with Hagar, but Hagar was like, no, I ain't having it. I done carried this child. I want this child. This is my child. I ain't giving it up. And so that started some issues between Sarah and Hagar. Well, you got some of the same stuff happening right here with Rachel and Leah. And they just so happen to be sisters married to the same guy. A lot of drama. And so her the surrogate mother, which is her name was I wrote it down. No, I didn't write it down. Bilhah.
Bilhah and
So,
Bilhah.
Bilhah actually has the babies for Rachel. Okay. And so like again, Rachel is taking it to her own hands because she wants kids so bad. And so now she has the kids. Now Rachel is feeling better. But then something happens. So the son of Leah actually goes out and finds some of these things called mandrakes. Okay. Oh, but you know what? Let me stop. Let me back up for a quick second because I do have one little thing I need to say. I'm trying to walk through the chapter, and I apologize. Let me backtrack a quick second because Rachel, in her anxiety, her disappointment of not being able to have kids, she kind of lashes out at Jacob and said, hey, I need some kids or I'm going to die. Like, I need kids or I'm going to die. And it's ironic she said that. You'll learn that later on about her having a kid and die. We'll talk about that later. But in this situation right here, she addresses Jacob, her husband, saying that she needs kids. She wants kids. And she's feeling that because her sister, the other wife, is having kids. So drama. But she said something, and earlier when I opened up and I said, "Your name is definitely not God." And the reason why I said that is because when she addressed Jacob, Jacob got really bothered with her. The scripture says he really got bothered. And he basically told her, "I'm not God. I'm not the one that closed your womb up. I'm not the one that's not allowing you to have kids. It's not my fault. I'm not God." So he kind of lashed out at her. And so then that's when she decided to take matters in her own hand and give her maid to Jacob to have kids. What you got, babe? Come on.
No, go ahead. You flowing. Well, no, we were talking about, Ron and I were talking about just relationship issues and
Yeah,
drama
yeah,
in relationships today.
yeah.
And I told him it was ironic that this chapter is talking about the difficulties of being in a relationship. Because my daughter and I were talking about it this week, just talking about, she was just saying, Mom, it's so hard to be in a relationship and it's so hard to find a relationship. And she was saying, in her generation, it's because there's so many
Yeah,
distractions out there, and,
right.
and that they're exposed to so many things, and they can get on their phone and scroll and
Hmm.
have contact with over 100,000 people a day,
Hmm.
etc.
Right,
And so, you know, I never looked at it from that perspective, but
right.
again, it all relates to, you know, um, relationships. And this story in the Bible relates to relationships that we deal with today as well.
Yeah, because of course, now you have to understand the custom back there was for men to have multiple wives and had concubines on top of that, right? So that was the custom that I ain't gonna say try that today, but that's what the custom was back then, right? And so it was perfectly legal for Jacob not only to be married to more than one lady, but also to marry his cousin, okay? Because they were his cousins, okay? And so but the bottom line is they're ended. They. This is what's going on, and now there's a rivalry because they're both fighting for the same man. One is not really loved by him, but she can have kids. She's producing the kids, which is it, back then in that custom. It meant a lot for a woman to be able to have kids. If she couldn't have kids, it was almost like you were a leper somewhat, right? Like you was something was wrong with you weren't that was it was like I can't even find the words to say what you was maybe help me out, babe. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It just wasn't good. It wasn't a good thing for a woman not to be able to have kids. And it was almost like less than. Um, while Leah, on the flip side, she could have the kids, but she was not loved. She was not really wanted by the man she was married to because he really wanted Rachel. So Rachel was getting the love while Leah was able to produce the kids. And the other one, what the other had. Leah wanted the love, Rachel wanted the kids.
Yeah.
Come on.
Again, my daughter, we're in the conversation that me and my daughter had this week, not knowing that this was the chapter it's about that. But we also talked about love at first sight, because she was
Right.
telling me that a friend of hers called and said that she was getting married to somebody that she just met, but it was love at first sight. And,
Mhm.
she was asking my opinion. Do I believe in love at first sight? And this is, again, another example in the Bible where Jacob, when he first saw Rachel, it was love at first sight.
Yeah. Yes, it was. Yeah.
And it's there in the Bible. And then the other thing that we were talking about as far as relationships was concerned, we were
Hmm.
talking about if you met a guy and he had like several girlfriends, do you just leave or do you stand in there and fight for your man? So it's like
Hey,
Rachel and Leah, they
there we
fighting for
see.
their
I
man.
told you we weren't gonna be able to unpack this right here. This all.
So we somehow, some way, me and my daughter was in this chapter, and we didn't even
Yeah.
know we were in this chapter.
Right.
So
That's interesting. And my response to that, and you speaking from a woman's standpoint, I'm gonna speak from a man's standpoint. Well, and it's not just a man. I'm gonna just say it from a stand from I would say from anybody's stand. Not every situation is the same. And now you might have a guy that might have many friends or people that he associate with, but you might have to do your homework a little bit. But then in some situations, no, you got to call a spade a spade. No, leave that alone. So not every situation is the same. What I'm gonna say is there's I'm gonna put us out there a little bit. I'm gonna put us out there a little bit because reality is when we met, you was with somebody and I was with somebody, right? We were in a separate relationship when we first met, okay? And the story goes, we don't talk, ain't no secret. When we met, it was something about you because I told you I was horrible with names. I'm horrible with remembering things about people, right? I remembered everything about you, right? So, and I remember Tally. We were standing in line, and Tally looked me dead in the eye and said, "She in trouble." And he wasn't talking about you. He was talking about the person that I was in a relationship with, because he knew something right there at that moment. So, but because you was in a relationship and I was in a relationship, had we just said, "Okay, well, I'm gonna leave that alone and no deal with that," 25 years later, we wouldn't be right here, right?
I
So not.
I use this as an example for her.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Right. So,
So,
well, hopefully I'm sharing our example for everybody else out here today, because not every situation is the same. Some situations you're going to have to look at and say, is this worth it? Because clearly you weren't in a relationship that was really doing what you needed, and vice versa for me. So we found each other, and here we are 25 years later, a family, right? And so, but there's some situations where you're gonna be like, no, you need to leave it alone. Because I can also say, I believe, and I think because we 25 years into this thing, there was definitely something that clicked between you and I that made us say, okay, let's at least go see. Let's go. Let's just let's just test the waters a little bit and see if this is even worth my time. If not, if it doesn't fit, then I'm gonna quit. We out of here, right? And
and
so,
so, oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead,
Oh,
go
so
ahead.
I was just going to say that, even with Leah and Rachel, and it's a hot mess. The
Yes, it
situation
is.
is a hot mess.
Yes, it
But
is.
even with this hot mess situation, God, God has a plan, and he's
Mm-hmm.
blessed. He's going to bless them. He's blessing them. He's
Mm-hmm.
going to fulfill his promises through
Right,
them, even though
right.
they started out, in a hot mess situation.
Yeah. And it was a hot mess that really wasn't created by them. Because if you really think about it, it was their father, Laban, that kind of created this mess.
Mhm.
But he created it somewhat because of custom, but he also did some underhanded stuff the way he went about doing. He didn't even say, hey, Jacob, this is how this has to go down. He didn't even give Jacob an option, even though I'm still kind of questioning how did Jacob not know who she was in the dark. Cut the light on or something. You go outside and know something. You can't tell me that you could tell, but anyway, that's another conversation for another day. But maybe he was drunk. I don't know. Watch your alcohol intake.
Uh,
But anyway, come on, baby.
yeah, and Lauren and I were talking about, the longevity
Hmm.
of relationships because she
Hmm.
was saying, Mom, you know, relationships today just don't last,
Right.
etc. And I was trying to explain to her, you you go into it with it to
Yeah.
last. And so you go through all the difficulties and the hardships and everything with that goal in
Yeah.
mind. I'm going to get through this. I'm going
Yeah.
to get through this, you
Yeah.
know, because I'm going in it with it, to last. And,
Well,
you know,
yeah.
same thing with Rachel and Leah and
Mhm.
Jacob. This was a long term um, uh, thing for them
Yeah.
to get to, the promises of God
Right.
in their lives.
But Rachel didn't want to quit. Leah didn't want to quit. They were still fighting for what it is they wanted. And they did some things that they probably shouldn't have done. But at the same time, sometimes when you're desperate, we do some things that are unconventional, or some things that you probably look back on and say, probably shouldn't have did that or whatever. But you said something earlier. What was that saying that you gave me earlier?
Oh no, I kind of just said it again. Like even in the mess, God's still blessed.
There you go. Even in the mess, God still bless. Now, I'm not telling you to go out here and create mess, but understand there are some situations that we end up in that is not even in our control. Some situations we had none, like Leah and Rachel ended up in this situation because of Laban, okay? Their father. Jacob end up in this situation because of their father, and also because of the custom of the land at that time. Right? The custom again was the elder was supposed to be married off before the younger, and so Rachel was the younger one. That's who Jacob wanted. Jacob had to work for her, but Laban didn't tell him from the very beginning. He tricked him, and now he got two wives, and now they fighting each other because one can have kids but is love. I mean, it's not love, and the other one is love but can't have kids, and they want what each other don't have.
Right.
So,
So,
oh no,
it sounds
I think I said that wrong, but anyway, I
it
think y'all do it
sounds
okay.
like a doom and gloom
Yeah,
story and situation, but it's not.
it's not.
You know,
I agree.
the,
It's
the,
not.
the overarching theme is never give up hope.
Yes.
Never quit, never quit, never give up hope.
That's it right there.
Keep fighting.
That's it. That's it. That's what we're gonna end on right there. See, I told you we might not be able to finish chapter 30. We're gonna end right there because we got the second half of the chapter 30, and we're gonna deal with that on next week. We're gonna stop with this right here. I think this is all we need to talk about this week right here. But even we gotta put that on a shirt. Even in the mess, God's still blessed. I'm gonna put a shirt. Another shirt coming. But anyway, but 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 I need you to know and understand some things you're just going to have to fight for and fight through to get what it is God has for you. And just think about it. The things that you really cherish, the things that you have accomplished, did they really come easy to you? Did you really appreciate the things that people gave you versus the things that you actually had to work for? The things that you actually had to work for, do you appreciate those? Do you actually like like you hold that in high regard? Like fighting through it, it means something to you. And so when you fight for it, you're going to fight extra hard to not lose it. And so when we talk about relationships and there people, because people don't want to fight for relationships, but they'll fight for everything else. If you really want that relationship to work, you're going to have to fight through some good and through well, you got to fight through the good. You're going to have to fight through some not so good moments. 25 years we've been married. We can't tell you that every moment of this marriage has been hunky dory. Right? We both done had them questions like, did we make a mistake of that? Do I still want to stay here? Right? Let's just be real. This 25 years, I thank God every day for my wife. I have never. I was always say that, but that's not saying that we haven't had some moments where I'm be like, man, I don't know if I made the right decision. And I know, Deb, you done had that same question, like, man, did I marry the right person? Or do I really want to stay here? I mean, let's be real. But 25 years, we still here together. And we had to fight through some of those moments and push through. So my encouragement for you today is that you fight through it. Keep pushing, keep going, talk about it. Sometimes you might have to step away for a second before you talk about it, but eventually you need to talk about it and deal with it. Figure out which baggage you're going to keep in the boat so that the boat don't tip over, okay? Both of y'all bringing baggage to whoever you dealing with, whatever relationship, even on the job. I ain't just talking about personal one-on-one relationship. I'm talking about even people you have to work with. You still all bringing baggage to the boat. You're going to have to deal with people, and you're going to all bring baggage. Figure out which baggage you're going to get rid of and which baggage you're going to keep. And then that baggage, figure out how you're going to balance it in the boat so the boat don't tip over so y'all get to your destination. Keep fighting, keep pushing. Don't quit. That's not an option. We don't quit on here. Anti-Negativity Network, we do not quit. We keep pushing, we keep grinding, we keep going after it. Go get what it is that God has for you. So, baby, you got anything else?
Nope. Keep being the light of the world.
We're going to make it do what it do. So, we out of here. Thank you. We're going to pick up on the other half of chapter 30 next week. I kind of had a feeling we won't go get through chapter 30 because it is still so much. I really ain't even finished with Rachel and Leah, but hey, I'm loving this. Thank you for hanging out with us here on this Thursday night. We're going to see you next week, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. We're going to see you next week at 6:30. And as you're supposed to do, pray, plan, prepare, proceed. Go make it do what it do. We're going to see you next week, Thanksgiving Day. Giving God thanks. Go make it do what it do. See you later.